belong to you. I belong to you. Do just what you want.
I look down at pocket tens and raise it to $10. Two players make the call and we go three ways to a flop. The flop is 8-10 jack with two hearts and I flop middle set. Okay, pretty good, but the board is very connected with a straight draw and a flush draw out there. The small blind leads out for $15 and the player to my right just makes the flat call. When action's back on me, I raise it to $55. Both players make the call and we go three ways to a turn. The turn is the four of spades, which doesn't change much except for it does add a backdoor flush draw. Action checks to me and I bet out $100. Only the player to my right calls and we go heads up to a river. I'm definitely putting him on a flush draw, maybe a straight draw as well, but would he really call $100 with a 9 in his hand? I'm not sure, but the river is a pretty sick one. The queen of spades, now completing the straight draw and the backdoor flush draw. He then quickly bets out $110. So sick. I know he's never bluffing here. I'm only hoping he bricked out on the heart draw. I tanked for about a minute, even talking to him, telling him I know you have a 9, but I gotta pay you off. So that's exactly what I do. I suck him off, pay him off. And I make the call. He says, "You're right, I have a 9," and shows 6-9 offsuit for a river straight. Well, at least my read was right? That's the worst. When you know you're beat, but still can't find the fold. Nice hand, sir. And just like that, I'm officially on tilt. There's a $10 straddle under the gun, and I look down at queen jack of hearts and 3-bet it to $25. Four players call, and we go five ways to a flop. The flop is a pretty good one. Jack queen 3 with two clubs, and I flop top 2 pair. When action's on me, I bet $25, and then the middle position raises it to 100. Everyone folds, and when action's back on me, I'm putting him on a flush draw. Being out of position, I don't want to just make the flat call and then see a scare card on a turn, which would kill the action. So I want to get all the money in now, so I re-raise him to $275. He then snap goes all in and he has me covered for a total of $459. I snap call. The turn is the 10 of hearts and the river is the 5 of spades. My opponent shows 9-10 of clubs for a flopped up and down straight flush draw and brick the turn and the river. So sick. I show my hand and we double up. Whew, what a sweat. I just dodged hella bullets. This one could have gone either way, just a sick cooler for him. I pick up the boys, 8 Ron in the cutoff position, and there's a $5 straddle. A few players make the call and I raise it to $30. Two other players make the call and we go to a flop three ways. The flop comes out 10 king 5 all clubs. What a great flop. I got top pair and the ace of clubs for the nut flush. Action checks to me and I bet out $40. Only the player to my right makes the call and we go heads up. The turn is a complete brick, a 2 of spades. I bet out $75 and he makes the call again. Now I'm a little worried because I actually think I'm behind now. I'm putting him on a set of 10s or a small flush. The player is more on the tighter side and hasn't gotten out of line all session. So I'm pretty sure I need a club or an ace. And the river comes a king of hearts pairing the board. Probably the worst card to come on the river. Maybe he had king queen with the queen of clubs and now he hit his set on me. I have the ace of club blocker, so what can he possibly be bluffing here with? Well, either way, it's not looking good, especially when he decides to ship it all in. And he has me covered for about $300 more. I tank for about a minute. I even show him my hand and I'm just talking out loud, just saying, how am I ever good here? So I decide to make the fold. I ask if he wants to show for the vlog, and he flips over pocket kings for quad kings. Aduma. What a cooler. I should have got stacked right there if he played that right. Because pre-flop, he only called my $30. If he raised it, we were gonna go all in, and I should have got stacked right here and there. Nice hand, sir. Nice hand. I straddle for $5 on the button and look down at ace-7 of clubs. One player makes the call for $5 and the caught up position raises it to $15. I call and the other player calls as well, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is a beautiful one. Jack 10-4 with 2 clubs. I have the nut flush draw. First action is on seat 6 and bets out $35. Seat 7 folds and I just make the flat call. The turn is an 8 of hearts, now giving me a gutter for a straight if I river a 9. Seat 6 bets out $50. I think about flat calling again, but I feel like the better play is to raise with my draw, because if I just call, that's just screaming that I have a flush draw. And there's a chance I can just take down the pot right here if I raise. Maybe I can represent Queen 9 here for a straight. So I go with my gut and re-raise him to $150. Well, he doesn't believe me and wants all the smoke. He about that life. And he doesn't think for too much longer and re-raises all in for $357. Well, I'm about that life too. So for $207 more, I make the call. I should have about 12 outs on the river to be good. So I'll see you on the river, baby. And the river is a queen of clubs. Ayah, let's go, baby. I hit my flush and I stack him for a nice sized pot. Damn, I got so lucky right there. That's so sick. I asked him if he wanted to show me what he had for the vlog, but he said nah. Probably salty, but I don't blame him. I would be salty too. I pick up pocket 8s. When action's on me, it's only suiting to raise $8 when I have pocket 8s, so that's what I do. One player calls, and then seat 6 raises it to $25. One player makes the call again, and when action's on me, I make the call along with one other player, and we go 4 ways to a flop. The flop comes out Queen 8-4 with 2 spades. Word. Action checks to me, and I check back to disguise the strength of my hand. When it comes back to seat 6, he bets out $25. Seat 8 folds, and when action's on me, I don't want to slow play it and then possibly see a spade on the turn and kill the action, so I raise it to $75. Seat 6 snap raises all in, and I couldn't flick in my chip fast enough for a call. The turn is a 4, now filling me up for a full house. The river is a 10, which doesn't change much, as I doubt he's re-raising all in with pocket 10s. I confidently show my 8s as I didn't need to show my hand first, and then he slowly turns over pocket queens for a bigger full house. Flop set versus set. Now that's a cooler. QQ Robinson. QQ. I have him covered, and that took a big hit to my stack, as now I only have about $125 left to my name. Aduma. The player to my right opens up to $26. I look down at King Jack of Hearts and make the call. 3 players make the call, and we go 5 ways to a flop. Flop looks pretty good and pretty safe for my hand. 3-9 Jack with 2 spades. The player to my right bets out $50. This does look pretty strong. Maybe he has pocket aces. I have top pair and a strong kicker, so I make the call so we can see a turn card, and we go heads up. The turn is a 6 of diamonds. Doesn't really change much, and then he decides to ship it all in. I've played with this player before, and he usually has complete air or the nuts. That being the case, I snap call us all in. The river is a 2 of hearts, and I think we're good. Until my opponent shows 6 deuce of spades, and river's a deuce for 2 pair. I made the right call. Bad river. Aduma. I mean, he had a lot of outs on the turn with his flush draw. Damn. Nice hand. And nice catch on the river. So sick. I get ace king again. This time they are suited and I'm in the big blind. Seat 5 raises it to $11 and then I re-raise it to $40. Only seat 5 calls and we go heads up to a flop. This player has had my number all night. Come on, let's go. Time to get him back. The flop is a complete brick for me. 8-5-9 all offsuit. He checks it over to me and I bet out $16. He makes the call pretty quickly and we go to a turn. The turn is a great one. A 7 of spades. I now have the nut flush draw and need a spade on the river. He checks it over to me and I want to put max pressure on him. So I go all in for my remaining stack, which is only $90 more. He tanks for about 2 full minutes before making the call. See you on the river, baby. And the river is a 10 of hearts. I break my flush draw and just have ace high. I tell him that he's good and that I missed, and he shows pocket 4s. He called my all in on the turn with pocket 4s when there was 4 overcards to his small pocket pair, along with a 4-liner to a straight. What a sick call by him. That's what you call a soul read. There's a $5 straddle on the button. No, I don't play 7 deuce again, but I do pick up queen deuce. At least they're suited this time. I make the call for $5 along with a handful of players, and then the button raises it to $20. I make the call and we go 6 ways to a flop. And the flop is deuce deuce ace. Hey, let's go, baby. When action's on me, I bet out $2. Yup, you already know. I'm putting the button on ace king, so I like this play a lot better than just checking, because I feel like it makes me look very weak and it's going to force the player's action, especially if they have a strong hand. Cutoff calls and then the button raises it to $42. Perfect. When action is back on me, I 3-bet it to $152. The cutoff folds and then the button decides to just make the call, and we go heads up to a turn. The turn is a brick, a 9 of clubs. And bet out $225 and he quickly makes the call. And the river is the last deuce in the deck. I now have quad deuces and it's going to be really hard for him to fold if he has a full house with an ace in his hand. So I go all in for his remaining stack of $94 more and he snap calls. I show him my quads and we stack them. Hey, quad deuces, baby. Let's go. Alright, there's a $10 straddle on the button and I look down at pocket 8s, aka the snowman, in the cutoff position. 3 players make the call and I make the call as well. The button then raises it to $50. Only me and 1 other player makes the call and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is not too bad. King 3-6 and just 1 overcard to my pair. Surprisingly, action checks all the way through and the turn is an 8, now giving me a set. This is such a sneaky turn card because I don't see how anyone could put me on pocket 8s. Action checks to me and I bet out $75 and both players make the call. Oh my goodness, how great is this? The river is the last 8 in the deck, giving me quads again for the 2nd time tonight. I have never hit quads twice in one night. This is cray cray. Action checks again to me and I bet out $300. The button calls all in for less for $234 and the other player quickly folds. I show my quads and we stack them. If this was beer pong, I am no longer on heater. I have now caught fire. Alright, let's keep it going. I pick up ace queen offsuit in the cutoff position. A lot of limpers limp in, and when action's on me, I raise it to $18. 4 players make the call, and we go 5 ways to a flop. The flop is a fun one. Jack 7-4, all hearts, and I have the ace of hearts for the nut flush. Seat 1 then goes all in for $34. The player to my right, he just makes a flat call, and when action's on me, I have $186 behind, and I don't want to just make the flat call. Gamble, gamble, baby. So I go all in. The player to my left just makes the flat call for 186, and the player to my right also makes the call. See you guys on the river. The turn is probably the worst card for me, as it pairs the board with another 4. Now, even if I hit my heart on the river, I'm still losing to a full house. Both players check, and the river is a brick. The 2 of clubs. Night night. The player to my left then bets out $125. The player to my right tanks for about 2 whole minutes and ends up making the call. The player to my left shows King 9 for a flopped flush, and the player to my right only shows me for the vlog, but he also flopped a flush with 6 deuce of hearts. Well, there was all my hearts. Pretty sick that both players flopped a flush. Alright, the hand you have all been waiting for. I pick up King Jack of Hearts in the cutoff position, and seat 5 raises it to $15. I make the call, and so does the button, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop comes out a beautiful one. Queen 10 ace. I flopped a straight with a royal flush draw. No freaking way. I'm just thinking, there's no way I'm going to hit a 10 of hearts for a royal. I've never had a royal flush in my life, so I'm just happy I flopped a straight. When action checks to me, I bet out $10, not trying to scare anyone off, and start building up a pot. Only the button makes the call, and we go heads up to a turn. The turn is a 6 of diamonds, not changing a thing. I bet out $25. Again, not trying to scare her off, and just what if? What if I can somehow river a 10 of hearts for a royal for the vlog? Well, I'll see you on the river. Alright, pause the video real quick and give this a like for some run good on the river for a royal. Well, the river is a 10 of hearts for a royal flush. Ayah, let's go. That's all because of you, fam, for liking the video. No freaking way. My first royal flush ever. So now it's my action, and I go all in to try to get max value for my royal flush, hoping she somehow has a full house with a 10 pairing the board. Well, she folds and shows ace king, and I show my royal flush because, come on, you gotta show the royal flush. I get 8-9 offsuit and raise it to $10. 5 players call, and we go 6 ways to a flop. The flop isn't too bad. Jack Queen 3 with 2 hearts, and I need a 10 for a gutter straight. Action checks to the cutoff and bets out $20. The big blind calls, and I call as well, and we go 3 ways to a turn. The turn is the 8 of hearts, now completing the front door flush and straight draw. When action checks to me, I lead out this time for $40, and only the cutoff calls, and we go heads up to a river. The river is a 7 of clubs, which doesn't change anything, and I have about $175 behind, so I then go all in, turning my pair into a bluff. I do have a couple of blockers to the flush and straight. After about 2 whole minutes of tanking and asking for a chip count, my opponent makes the call. I tell him that he's good, and he shows Queen 8 of spades for 2 pair and stacks me. Damn, nice call, nice call. Not scared of no flush or straight, huh? I respect the call, but I do, man. There's a $5 straddle on the button, and since everyone folds before me, I call blind for fun. I gotta give the straddle some action, right? The cutoff calls, and the button checks, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 4 king ace with 2 hearts, and I'm pretty sure I got pocket aces. So I lead out blind for $2. Both players call, and we go 3 ways to a turn. The turn is the 8 of diamonds, and I lead out again blind for $2. The cutoff snap raises me to $4. Uh-oh. The button calls, and with that size of a raise, shit, I gotta check my cards now. So I look down, and what do you know? I look down at 4-8 of spades and turn to 2 pair. I didn't raise it to $27. Only the button calls, and we go heads up to a river. This is where things get a little interesting. I do a little table talk. Come on, heart. Please. As you can hear me begging for a heart. I even say please. A little reverse psychology here. The river is not a heart. It's the 8 of clubs breaking the heart flush draw on the flop and giving me a full house. First actions on me, and I Hollywood for about 30 seconds, making it seem like if I want to bluff at a bricked heart draw, and then I decide to overbet the pot, $125. I mean, the way I played it is pretty sus. I mean, I just limped in, and then my $2 bets. How can anyone put me on a strong hand? My opponent doesn't think too long about it before flicking in his chip and making the call. I quickly show my cards, and we take down this pot playing mostly blind. Sheesh, talk about luck right there. I shroud a $5 on the gun. A couple players call, and then seat 6 raises it to $15. I didn't look down at pocket 9s. I do think about 3-betting here, being out of position, but I end up just making the call along with 2 other players, and we go 4 ways to a flop. The flop is pretty good. 6, 9, 10 with 2 diamonds, and I flop middle set. The board is quite connected though, with straight draws and flush draws. First actions on me, and I check. C4 bets out $15, 1 player calls, and then I raise it to 60. Only 1 player calls, and we go heads up to a turn. The turn is the 8 of spades, and now a few possible straights are out there. I just don't see how he has a 7x in his hand when he calls my $60 raise on the flop. I think he's on a flush draw, so I bet out $100, and after some time, he eventually makes the call. The river is a pretty bad one. The jack of clubs, now putting a 4-liner for a straight. I check, and then he goes all in for $99. So sick. I tell him I think I gotta pay you off. Is he ever bluffing here with a brick diamond draw? I didn't put him on a 7 for a straight. So what queen X hands does he have here? Did he turn the straight with queen jack? Man, what a run out. I low-key wish he had more money, so it would be easier for me to fold. But such a good price to call. So I already told him already. I gotta pay you off. So that's exactly what I do. I suck him up. I pay him off. I call, and he shows jack queen for a turn straight, and didn't even need the river. Hey man, you better at least buy me dinner later. Shit, you got it all over my eyes. Nice hand, but I do, man. And I straight out $5 on the button. Everyone folds except for the cutoff, and he raises it to $15. And I look down at king 9 offsuit and make the call. I'll give you some action. The flop is queen 7-10 all offsuit, and I need a jack for a straight. He leads out for $15. I could just make the call, but I decided to go with the more aggressive route and raise it to 45. I want to see where I'm at and also want to put any pressure on 1 pair holdings. He makes the call, and the turn is a 9 of spades, which now brings in a couple straight draws such as king jack, 8 jack, and 8-6. He checks it over me, and I continue the aggression and bet $50. Looking back, this $50 bet was way too small. I need to be sizing up to about 75 to 100 if I want to keep up the aggression. He just makes the call, and we go to a river. The river is the 7 of spades, and I actually think this is a good river card for me. It completes the backdoor flush and pairs the board, now completing some full houses. He checks it over me again, and if he had a hand like ace queen or king queen, it's gonna be real tough for him to call when I'm firing all 3 streaks. I bet $125, and he snap goes all in. I tank for about 30 seconds, pretending like I got some real thinking to do. I don't want to fold so fast, and then they're gonna know I was bluffing. But I end up making the fold, and my opponent shows 10-7 for a rivered full house. Damn. I think if that 7 didn't get there on the river, I could have got him to fold. I don't recommend this play often, but you can't always just play your cards, and you gotta play your opponents and go with your read. Well, my read was definitely off, and I definitely didn't put him on a full house. Nice hand. There's a $6 straddle under the gun. The small blind calls, and then I look down at queen 5 of clubs. I make the call as well, and then under the gun raises it to $18. We both make the call, and we go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 6 jack 8 with 2 clubs, and I got a flush draw. Action checks to the pre-flop raiser, and undergun bets $45. Small blind folds, and I'm not going nowhere with my draw. I make the call and we go heads up to a turn. The turn is a fun one. The 9 of hearts now give me a double gutter for a straight. I need a 7 or a 10 along with my flush draw. I have 15 outs I could hit on the river, and I should be good. I check, and my opponent bets $120. Pretty hefty bet. He's pretty much saying he has an overpair like kings or aces, maybe a set of jacks. I look over his stack, and he has about $250 behind. I tank for about a minute and a half, as I'm never folding here. I'm just debating if I want to go all in or not. Maybe I could represent a hand like queen 10 for a straight, as I do have a queen for a blocker. I didn't think this player was going to fold if I push, so I decided to just make the flat call and see a river card. So before we go to river, I do want to say this. One of the main reasons why I didn't push on the turn is because after tanking for about a minute to a minute and a half, I felt like my opponent had a live read on me, as he was like eyeballing me like a hawk. I felt like he knew I was on a draw, but I do want to ask for some advice. If you think a hand over for about a minute or a minute and a half on a draw heavy board like this, do I need to be a lot quicker with my decision, like 30 seconds, to seem like I have a stronger hand than what I really have? Or is that just an obvious tell that I'm on a draw if I'm thinking for so long? Comment down below on how do you guys deal with live reads when people are tank calling after about a minute or two against you. Because I always feel like after I tank for a minute or two before I make a call, it seems like I make it way too obvious I'm on a draw. The river is a 6 of spades, and I break all 15 outs. Damn. Man. Well, first action's on me, and well, I can't win with queen high. So I rip it all in for $237, and my opponent snap calls. That's never a good sign. I show my cards, and my opponent shows pocket kings, and I double them up. This was a bad all-in by me, as the only hand I could really represent here is pocket 6s or pocket 8s. Maybe pocket 9s, because I just limp called in pre-flop, and the 6 on the river counterfeits all 2-pair combinations. Either way, nice call by him, but I did ask my opponent after if I raised all in on the turn, if he would fold or not, and he said no because he was too pot committed and he was never folding. There's a $6 shadow under the gun, and I look down at 8-9 of clubs and raise it to $15. The cutoff then 3 bets it to 37. Only I make the call, and we go heads up to a flop. The flop is not too bad. 10-4-9 with 2 spades, and I need a 7 for a straight. First action's on me, and I check to the 3 better. He could be having an overpair here. The cutoff bets out $20, and I make the quick call. The turn is a fun one. The 5 of clubs now give me a backdoor flush draw. I check again to him, planning to check raise big on any bet, but he quickly checks back. The river is the 5 of hearts, and I break all my draws. And this is where it gets a little interesting. I do a little table talk and tell him that I missed. I don't know what to do. And then I lead up for $40, try to make it look like a value bet. But now looking back, I definitely should have sized up. He snap calls and shows ace high and takes down the pot. You're not supposed to believe me in my table talk. He then tells me he watched another poker vlogger, and that when people say that you missed out loud, you believe them. Wow, what a fail. Nice call, but ado man.
Clean on my melody.